Muscle, ano yung naiisip natin pag naririnig natin yung salitang muscle? We actually think that those are the muscle on our legs that help us to run fast, or those bodybuilders who's working on their bicep. Those muscle is particularly belong to a different type of muscle called skeletal muscle. But actually, we have three different types of muscle in our body, but the two of them are not that obvious. In addition of skeletal muscle, we human also have cardiac muscle and smooth muscle. So, let us discuss these three different types of muscles. First, what those muscles have in common is that all muscles are vitals for movements. Ang mga muscle tissue nito is made up of muscle cells and they are highly specialized for the process called contraction, which is allows to move around. As we take a look at each type of muscles, quite different in the functions but have some similarities in their structures. Ngayon na alam na natin kung ano yung mga pagkakapareho ng tatlong muscles na to, italakay naman natin ang tungkol sa pagkakaiba-iba nila. Skeletal, cardiac, and smooth muscles are different in location, cell shape, nucleus, striations, control, ability to contract spontaneously, functions, and special features. Skeletal muscle is naka-attach siya sa bones. At upper arm and femur na bone napapalibutan siya sa skeletal muscle. While yung cardiac muscle man nasa heart siya. While ang smooth muscle, maimod natin siya sa walls of hollow organs like sa blood vessels, sa intestine, or sa stomach or bronchi. Cell shape sa skeletal is pareha siya sa latas and corned beef. Kaso nga lang, mas mahaba siya. Ang nucleus man niya is multi-nucleated ngayon vertically located. Kung baga sa isang cylindrical shape, damuan kanya nucleus tapos diri siya sunod-sunod ang kanya pagkaka-place kundi far away from each other. Yung striation naman, yun yung mga linya na nakikita natin. Yung mga guhit-guhit dyan na nakikita natin. Muscle cells have many myofibers nga naka-organize na tawag na sarcomeres, which is the machinery responsible of contraction, na nagbibigay sa skeletal muscle ng straighted appearance. Tapos sa cardiac muscle man, cylindrical shape liwat siya pero may mga branches na may mga dugtong pares sa branch sa puno. Ang nucleus na niya ay sayula, kung baga sayo nga cylindrical shape, yaon siya sayo nga nucleus. Tapos ang kanya location is nasa gitna. Unlike sa skeletal na damuan kanya nucleus tapos vertically ang kanya location. Nganyaon lat siya striation. Ang smooth muscle man, ang iya shape is para sa labanos nga gulay. Nucleus man niya is same sa cardiac, single liwat nga centrally located. Dito sa smooth muscle, hindi na siya striated because of lack of myofibers and sarcomeres. Skeletal muscles is enable for humans to move and perform daily activities. This muscle is able to control voluntarily, like extending the limbs or coordinated activity like running and swimming. This muscle have no ability to contract spontaneously because this muscle only moves when we decide to move. While on cardiac muscle, there is only one rule, and it is to contract in order to push blood out of the heart to the rest of the body that will supply tissues around the body to give oxygen and nutrients. This muscle, it is involuntary control, means that it can contract and relax automatically. Also have an ability to contract spontaneously because we don't think about it. The heart is innervated by the autonomic nervous system.
Cardiac muscle cells are short branched cells, which is a structure that allows them to communicate with other cells, and they typically have one or maybe two centrally located nuclei. In between each cardiomyocyte, there is an intercalated disc which contains gap junctions. These gap junctions allow the electrical stimulus that is required for contraction to rapidly spread across the cardiac tissue by allowing ions to move from one cell to the next. Smooth muscle in blood vessel walls will blood to our different organs. It is present in our airways to allow more or less air to pass through. It contracts in the walls of our digestive tract to push material along. The smooth muscle in our bladder contracts to expel urine out of the body. And it has numerous functions in the reproductive system, including contraction of the walls of the uterus to push a baby out of its mother during childbirth. Similarly to cardiac muscle, smooth muscle is innervated by the autonomic nervous system, so it contracts and relaxes automatically.
And has the ability to contract spontaneously.
Idadagdag ko lang po, skeletal muscle is the most abundant type. This skeletal muscle can cover our skeleton and give our body its shape. This attached to the bone either directly or via tendons. Our skeletal muscle maintain our posture. For example, yung pag-upo natin, akala natin super relax tayo. Pero actually, hindi. Kasi yung muscle natin ay nagmo-move siya to create a little adjustment. Also, beyond of these functions, they also help us maintain our body temperature by releasing heat as a byproduct of muscle construction. Now, please take a look at this photo. These are the structure, function, and the location of muscle tissue. Now that we are already done discussing about the three different types of muscle, let us all know what is Marfan syndrome. Marfan syndrome is a genetic disorder that results defective connective tissue that can affect the person's skeleton, heart, blood vessels, eyes, and lungs. Tissue space is full of microfibril, strong, rope-like, and a form of connective tissue. The most component of microfibril is called the microprotein called fibrillin. Some structure of fibrillin form a scaffold for additional protein like elastin, a highly crossed link and a rubber band that allows to stretch and spring back to its original shape. Marfan syndrome is caused by mutation gene in called FBN1 or fibrillin 1 or chromosome 15. It is an autosomal dominant disorder, which means if the body have a normal copy of a gene, a single mutated copy gene or the heterozygous mutation is sufficient to cause the disease. Children whose parents have the disorder have a 50% chance of inheriting the disorder. However, there are still children who have Marfan syndrome that their parents doesn't have the disease. And those people who have Marfan syndrome have their limbs, fingers, toes disproportioned. As the connective tissues weaken, as a consequences, the heart valve, which are composed largely of connective tissue, do not function normally, resulting the heart to murmurs. There is no cure for the condition, but treatments can reduce the danger symptoms. For example, drugs that lower blood pressure and reduce the vascular risk.